First contact, first blood. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the holographic display as 5 unknown vessels approached Earth's defense perimeter. The ships were massive, each easily 3 times the size of her destroyer. Their hulls adorned with crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with internal energy. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the bridge. "Unknown vessels are maintaining their approach vector, Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his tactical station. "Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. They're efficient, almost too efficient." Chen nodded, studying the alien ship's formation. Something about their approach bothered her. It was too perfect, too textbook. After 15 years commanding space vessels, she'd learned to trust her instincts. "All ships maintain defensive formation Delta," she ordered, addressing the 4 other vessels under her command. "But Commander Williams, I want the Intrepid to lag behind by 0.3 seconds in their course corrections." "Ma'am." Williams' voice carried a note of confusion over the comm. "Trust me, Commander. Sometimes a little imperfection is exactly what we need." The alien vessels continued their approach, their formation unchanged. When they crossed the outer marker of Earth's defense perimeter, they suddenly broke formation, their crystalline structures flaring with blinding energy. "Multiple weapon signatures detected," Rodriguez shouted. "They're targeting. All ships, execute maneuver Chaos 3. Chen commanded. The human fleet scattered in seemingly random directions, except for the Intrepid, which responded a fraction of a second slower. The alien vessels, their targeting systems apparently locked onto the predicted paths of perfect formation movement, missed entirely. Their energy weapons, devastatingly powerful but precisely targeted, sliced through empty space. "Return fire, pattern Sierra 7, Chen ordered. "Focus on the lead vessel's crystal arrays, and get me a structural analysis of those formations." The human ships responded with a barrage of kinetic rounds and plasma torpedoes. The alien shields easily deflected the plasma, but the kinetic rounds, simple tungsten slugs accelerated to relativistic speeds, shattered several of their crystal arrays. "Admiral," the science officer, Dr. Harper, called out, "those crystals, they're not just weapons. They're part of their computing system. It's all integrated." Chen smiled grimly. They've never faced an enemy that would target their computer systems directly. They thought they were showing off their superior technology, but they just handed us their weakness. "All ships, switch to kinetic rounds exclusively. Target those crystal arrays. Let's show them why humanity learned to keep our computers safely behind armor plating." The battle that followed was brief but decisive. The alien vessels, their integrated systems compromised by the destruction of their external crystal arrays, struggled to coordinate their actions. The human fleet, though smaller and less advanced, pressed their advantage ruthlessly. Within 20 minutes, 3 alien vessels were dead in space, their crystal arrays shattered and their systems in disarray. The remaining 2 retreated, their perfect formation forgotten as they fled at maximum acceleration. "Secure from general quarters," Chen ordered, allowing herself to relax slightly. "Begin recovery operations for any alien survivors, and get me a complete analysis of their technology, especially those crystal arrays." As the adrenaline of battle faded, Chen reflected on humanity's first contact with alien life. It hadn't gone as anyone had hoped, but they'd learned something crucial. Advanced technology wasn't everything. Human ingenuity, adaptability, and willingness to embrace imperfection had won the day. "Send a message to Earth Command," she instructed her communications officer. Tell them that we're going to need more ships, and that we've just learned something very important about fighting aliens. They're not invincible. They're just different, and different isn't always better." As her crew began the process of securing their first alien prisoners and analyzing the defeated vessels, Chen couldn't help but wonder what other assumptions these advanced aliens had made about warfare. She had a feeling humanity was about to teach the galaxy some harsh lessons about the dangers of underestimating the younger species. The engineering solution. 3 months after humanity's first alien encounter, the massive cargo hauler Sierra Nevada drifted in high orbit above Mars, its hull crawling with construction drones and work crews. What had once been a simple ore transport was becoming something else entirely. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the ship's newly constructed Combat Information Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the ongoing modifications. Her team of engineers had been working around the clock, transforming civilian vessels into weapons of war. "Status update on the mass driver installation," she asked, taking a sip from her coffee bulb. Her assistant, James Chen, swiped through several technical readouts. "The reinforcement struts are holding better than expected. Turns out these old haulers were actually overbuilt. All that extra structural support for cargo is perfect for weapon mounts." Maya nodded, allowing herself a small smile. When she'd first proposed converting cargo ships into warships, many had called it desperate. But desperation bred innovation, and humanity had always excelled at both. "Show me the power distribution network," she requested. The holographic display shifted, revealing a complex web of energy conduits threading through the Sierra Nevada's massive frame. The ship's original captain, now tactical systems officer, Marcus Reynolds, whistled softly. "Hard to believe this is the same ship I used to haul titanium ore from the belt. Those alien power cores we salvaged from the battle. They're giving us 3 times the output we had before." 4 times, actually, Maya corrected, once we figured out how to integrate them with human capacitor technology. The aliens never considered using burst power systems. Their crystalline technology was all about constant, stable energy flow. She gestured at one of the displays, highlighting a series of modified cargo bays. "That's our advantage. We're not trying to match their technology. We're adapting it to work with human engineering principles. Every weakness we find in their systems becomes our strength." The Sierra Nevada shuddered slightly as another set of modified cargo doors was installed. What had once been simple loading bays were being converted into broadside weapon ports, each capable of launching salvos of kinetic penetrators or the newly developed crystal cracker missiles. "Latest simulation results are in," James reported, pulling up another display. "Our modified point defense network is showing a 92% effectiveness rating against their energy weapons. The distributed computing systems are working exactly as intended." Maya allowed herself a moment of pride. After analyzing the wreckage from the first battle, they'd discovered the aliens' fatal flaw. Their absolute dedication to technological perfection made them predictable. Human systems, with their redundancies and intentional randomness, were proving remarkably effective at countering alien targeting systems. "What about the crew spaces?" she asked, turning to another section of the display. The Sierra Nevada had been designed for a crew of 20. Now it would need hundreds to function as a warship. "That's actually working out better than expected," Marcus replied. "These ships were built for long-haul missions. The life support systems are robust, and we've managed to convert most of the cargo space we're not using for weapons into surprisingly comfortable crew quarters. She's not pretty, but she's functional." Maya was about to respond when an alert flashed across the main display. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the communication screen. "Dr. Patel," the Admiral began without preamble, "how soon can the Sierra Nevada be ready for combat trials?" Maya quickly consulted her project timeline. "We're ahead of schedule, Admiral. 2 weeks for basic trials, another week for combat system integration. She won't be pretty, but she'll fight." "Make it 1 week," Chen replied, her expression grim. "Long-range sensors have detected another alien fleet approaching. Bigger this time. They're not happy about losing those ships." Maya straightened, her mind already racing through the modifications they could accelerate. "Understood, Admiral. We'll be ready. The aliens want to see the best technology. We'll show them what humans can do with spare parts and determination." After the Admiral's image faded, Maya turned to her team. "You heard her. New deadline. I want all hands on deck, and I want every shortcut and crazy idea you've been sitting on. The aliens think their technology makes them superior. Let's show them why humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to adapt. As her team rushed to implement the new accelerated schedule, Maya studied the holographic display of the Sierra Nevada. The ship was ugly now, a patchwork of civilian and military technology, human engineering, and alien salvage. But it would fight. And if her calculations were correct, it would do more than fight. It would teach the aliens why assuming technological superiority was their greatest mistake. The Battle of Proxima. The space around Proxima Centauri blazed with weapons fire as Admiral Chen watched the tactical display aboard the converted heavy freighter-turned-flagship Thermopylae. 30 human vessels, a mix of purpose-built warships and converted civilian craft, faced off against a fleet of 57 alien vessels. Multiple targeting locks detected, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced, his voice steady despite the tension. They're using their standard crystal array formation. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Just as we expected. Execute Operation Sledgehammer. The human fleet's formation suddenly dissolved into apparent chaos. The converted cargo ships, their hulls bristling with weapons, began what looked like a clumsy, uncoordinated advance. To the aliens' targeting systems, they appeared to be malfunctioning, their movements erratic and inefficient. It was anything but. All ships, commence electronic warfare protocols, Chen ordered. The space between the fleets filled with a storm of electronic noise, jamming signals, and false sensor readings. The humans had learned that alien crystal computing arrays were susceptible to information overload. They couldn't process randomness as effectively as human systems. The alien fleet responded with a devastating barrage of energy weapons, but their targeting was confused by the electronic warfare and the unpredictable movement patterns. Most of their shots went wide, while those that hit were absorbed by the reinforced armor of the converted freighters. Sierra Nevada, you have weapons free, Chen commanded. Show them what those cargo bays can do. The massive converted hauler opened its modified cargo doors, revealing rows of electromagnetic mass drivers. The ship's new power core, a hybrid of human and alien technology, surged to full capacity. The resulting broadside launched thousands of kinetic penetrators, each barely larger than a bullet, but accelerated to relativistic speeds. The alien ship's energy shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, proved far less effective against solid projectiles. Multiple crystal arrays shattered under the onslaught, sending cascading failures through the alien vessel's integrated systems. Mantis Group, execute attack pattern Delta, Chen ordered. A squadron of smaller ships, converted mining vessels, darted between the larger alien warships. Their original mining lasers, modified with salvaged alien technology, carved through the vulnerable spots identified in previous encounters. The alien fleet attempted to regroup, but their rigid command structure was struggling to adapt to human battle tactics. Their perfect formations, once their strength, had become a liability. They couldn't match the unpredictable, almost chaotic way the human ships moved and fought. Admiral, Dr. Maya Patel's voice came over the comm from her position on the Sierra Nevada. Their fleet command ship is showing signs of power fluctuation. I think their crystal network is overloading from trying to process our electronic warfare. Chen nodded. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. All ships converge on their flagship. Maximum electronic warfare output. Let's give their systems more chaos than they can handle. The human fleet closed in, their electronic warfare systems broadcasting an overwhelming flood of contradictory data. The alien flagship's crystal arrays, already strained from trying to coordinate their fleet's response to human tactics, began to fail spectacularly. The battle that followed was decisive. Without their command ship's coordination, the alien fleet's perfect formations fell apart. Individual ships fought well, but they couldn't match the adaptability and tactical flexibility of the human vessels. 2 hours later, Chen stood on her bridge, watching as recovery teams began securing disabled alien vessels. Of the 57 ships that had attacked, 32 were destroyed or disabled. The rest had retreated, their perfect formations abandoned in favor of survival. The human fleet had lost 8 ships and suffered damage to many others, but they had achieved something remarkable. They had proven that humanity's converted cargo ships, guided by human ingenuity and unpredictability, could defeat a technologically superior force. "Send word to Earth," Chen ordered. Tell them that Operation Sledgehammer was a success, and inform Dr. Puddle that I want a full analysis of any new alien technology we recover. We just showed them our sledgehammer. Next time, they'll try to adapt. We need to be ready." As the recovery operations continued, Chen couldn't help but wonder how the aliens would respond to this defeat. They had learned that superior technology alone wasn't enough to guarantee victory. But what would they learn from this battle? And how would they adapt to face humanity's unconventional warfare? Psychology of Fear. High Commander Xylix of the Crystalline Dominion stood before the Grand Council, his iridescent scales dulled with fatigue. The massive chamber, with its perfectly arranged crystal formations, seemed to mock their recent failures against the humans. "Explain," First Speaker Catal demanded, her crystalline resonators vibrating with barely contained fury, how our superior fleet was defeated by primitives using converted cargo vessels. Xylix activated the holographic display, showing footage from the Battle of Proxima. "The humans are different." First Speaker, "They do not fight as civilized species should." The display showed human ships moving in seemingly random patterns, their formations lacking the mathematical precision that had been the foundation of space combat for millennia. "Observe their tactical approach," Xylix continued. "Our targeting systems are designed to predict enemy movements based on optimal efficiency patterns. The humans deliberately introduce chaos into their movements. They fight like animals cornered in their den." Fleet Analyst Varric stepped forward, her crystalline augments pulsing with agitation. "Their electronic warfare is particularly concerning. They don't just try to jam our systems, they flood them with contradictory data, impossible scenarios, mathematical paradoxes. It's as if they're trying to give our crystal arrays anxiety disorders." The council chamber filled with horrified murmurs. The concept of deliberately inducing system instability was alien to their perfect, crystalline minds. "But their technology is inferior," protested Council Member Raxil. "Their ships are crude adaptations of civilian vessels. They lack the purity of design that has guided our civilization for 10,000 years." "That is precisely what makes them dangerous," Xylix responded. "They adapt. They improvise. They take our technology and merge it with their own in ways that should not work, yet somehow do. Look at this footage." The display showed a converted human mining vessel using a modified industrial laser, combined with salvaged crystalline technology, to slice through a Dominion warship's hull. "They have no respect for the proper way of doing things," Verx added. "They mix technologies, ignore efficiency protocols, and somehow achieve results that our simulations insist are impossible. Our crystal arrays cannot predict their actions because they do not follow any rational pattern." First Speaker Catal's resonators hummed in thought. "You speak of them as if they are not merely primitive, but dangerous." "They are both," First Speaker, Xylix confirmed. "In the last battle, they used our own pursuit of perfection against us. Our integrated crystal systems, the pride of our civilization, became a vulnerability. They overwhelmed our command ship's cognitive arrays not with brute force, but with chaos, sensor ghosts, false readings, mathematical impossibilities." The display showed the moment when the Dominion flagship's systems had overloaded, its perfect crystalline structure unable to process the flood of contradictory data. "And their weapons," Verx shuddered. "They don't rely on elegant energy weapons. They use kinetic projectiles, crude masses of metal accelerated to relativistic speeds. Our shields are optimized for deflecting energy weapons, not stopping solid projectiles. It's primitive, brutal, Effective. They show no fear, Xylix continued. Our psychological warfare tactics, refined over millennia, are based on demonstrating our technological superiority. But the humans, they see our superior technology as a challenge to overcome, not a reason to surrender. They celebrate their imperfections, turn them into advantages. First Speaker Katal rose from her crystalline throne. What do you propose, High Commander? How do we fight an enemy that refuses to follow the rules of warfare? Xylix's scales shifted to a deeper shade of blue. That is the true horror, First Speaker. We must consider the unthinkable. Adaptation. We must study their chaos, understand their unpredictability. And that means we must be willing to embrace imperfection. The council chamber erupted in shocked outrage. The suggestion of deliberately introducing imperfection into their perfect systems was nearly blasphemous. The humans have a saying, Xylix continued over the protests. Know your enemy. We thought we knew them. Primitive, technologically inferior, easy to defeat. We were wrong. They are something we haven't faced in 10,000 years of expansion. An enemy that doesn't fear our perfection, but rather sees it as a weakness to exploit. As the council debated this heretical suggestion, Xylix watched the battle footage again. The human ships danced through space in their chaotic patterns, their hybrid technology defying proper engineering principles, their tactics ignoring millennia of established combat doctrine. The doctrine of peace. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed diplomatic chamber aboard the UES Thermopylae, studying the crystalline architecture that the alien delegation had insisted on installing. The perfect geometric patterns seemed at odds with the converted cargo ship's utilitarian design, but somehow the contrast worked. Perhaps that was the point. "They are ready, Admiral," Dr. Maya Patel reported, adjusting the hybrid human-alien translation device they'd developed. "The Crystalline Dominion's delegation is preparing to dock." Chen nodded, straightening her dress uniform. After 6 months of warfare that had shocked the aliens to their core, both sides had agreed to diplomatic talks. The location, a human warship that had once been a simple cargo hauler, had been humanity's choice, a reminder of their adaptability. The airlock cycled, and High Commander Xylix entered with his delegation. Their crystalline augments caught the light, creating rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. Chen noticed their formations weren't quite as rigid as in previous encounters. "Welcome aboard the Thermopylae," Chen greeted them, using the translation device. "We appreciate your willingness to talk." Xylix's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a diplomatic blue. "Your ship's name?" "Thermopylae. Our databases indicate it refers to an ancient battle where a smaller force held against a superior one through tactical innovation." Chen smiled. "You've been studying our history." "We have been studying everything about humans," Xylix admitted. "You have forced us to question assumptions our civilization has held for 10,000 years. It is uncomfortable." "Growth usually is," Chen replied, gesturing to the conference table where Dr. Patel waited with her technical displays. "Your hybrid technology," Xylix indicated the translation device. "It breaks every rule of proper engineering, yet it works. Like your tactics, your ships, your entire approach to warfare. You take perfection and deliberately introduce imperfection, creating something new." Maya stepped forward. "We've learned from your technology too. Your crystal arrays are incredible achievements. We just use them differently." "Yes," Xylix's scales rippled. "You use them to create chaos, to overload our systems with impossible scenarios, to make our perfection a weakness." "Not to destroy," Chen corrected. "To teach. Every battle was a lesson. That perfection can become stagnation, that adaptation is strength, that different isn't always wrong." The alien commander was quiet for a moment. "Our council has come to a difficult realization. The galaxy is changing. Species like yours, adaptable, unpredictable, innovative, are emerging. The old doctrine of perfect conquest must end." We're proposing something new, he continued, activating a holographic display. A partnership. Your chaos, our order. Your adaptation, our stability. Not perfection, but progress. The display showed plans for joint research projects, shared defense initiatives, cultural exchange programs. The crystalline dominion was proposing to learn from humanity's imperfection rather than trying to perfect it away. Your ships terrify us, Xylix admitted, not because they're powerful, but because they shouldn't work. They defy prediction, ignore doctrine, combine technologies in ways our simulations say are impossible. But they do work, and that terror has taught us something valuable. There is strength in imperfection. Chen studied the proposal. And your council accepts this partnership between chaos and order. They are learning to. Xylix's scales shifted to a thoughtful green. As one of our analysts said, if we cannot defeat humanity's chaos, perhaps we should try to understand it instead. Understanding leads to peace, Chen offered. And peace gives us time to learn from each other. As the diplomatic talks continued, Chen reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as apparent primitives, faced with a technologically superior foe that seemed unbeatable. Yet it was their very primitiveness, their adaptability, their embrace of imperfection, their willingness to break the rules, that had proven to be their greatest strength. The human ships that terrify the galaxy had never been about superior technology or perfect design. They were terrifying because they represented something the ordered species of the galaxy had forgotten. That true strength lies not in achieving perfection, but in the constant drive to adapt, improve, and overcome. As she watched Dr. Patel explain human engineering principles to fascinated alien technicians, Chen smiled. Perhaps that was humanity's real contribution to the galaxy, not the art of warfare, but the reminder that imperfection, chaos, and adaptation were not weaknesses to be eliminated, but strengths to be embraced.